Welcome back to the Director's Garage, and I'm going to talk a second about the watch bands because I got a question about it. I have a different watch band on, it seems like, every single week, and the problem is this. This is my watch band collection. It's a little bit obsessive. And each of these, if you went on Apple and bought them, they'd be like $50 a piece.
Get out.
But I have this thing where I'll be sitting there watching a movie with my wife, and I'll be on AliExpress, and each of these watch bands costs $2. Not this one. This one was more expensive, but $2 for each of these. So I just load up a cart with a bunch of watch bands, and I have them shipped over. So that's kind of the deal with the watch bands and why I have a different watch band. It's a personality quirk. I just like having different watch bands. What can I say? Okay, today we're going to review and a sound check the K10L Prestige, and then I'm going to finish with a somewhat blind what's in the box, which is a Noble edition. This is kind of a kick back with a cup of coffee and take it in episode. I'm going to talk about some of the friends I've made along the way in my head-fi journey, and maybe it'll make you think about some of the friends you've made along the way. Now, the story of how I came to Noble is interesting, and I'm going to include some links back as I tell this. My first CanJam was like 2016-ish, and at that CanJam, I met up with Lee Shelly. Now, if you don't know Lee, he is a world-class product photographer. And Lee, I'm going to brag on you for a minute while I show some of your work. I hope you don't mind. If you've ever read an issue of Stereophile or The Absolute Sound, you've seen Lee's photography. He creates amazing images of products and scenes with products in them for companies like VPI Turntables. And he introduced me to Matt Weisfeld, virtually anyway. He's the guy who runs VPI. You see, I'm a Scout owner, and when my tone arm had an unfortunate run-in with Noodles, I sent him the severed tone arm along with this photo. You see, I'm a semi-professional photographer, and Lee commented on a few of my images, which was a complete honor. And after exchanging a few notes about our interests, we soon realized we must have been separated at birth. So Lee and I had a somewhat long history online before we met in person at that CanJam, and we had lunch together and we kind of shared our thoughts about the new products, and we visited some of the booths together, and one that he insisted that I visit is Noble Audio. He showed me some of their custom products, and I nearly bought a K10 Universal at that show. I spent about a half an hour listening to them, but I wound up buying like a small portable amp instead. But I was certainly impressed with what I heard, and those custom designs left a lasting impression on me. So around episode 34 or so, Audio 46 sent me a blind what's in the box of the Noble Audio Sultan. Now, I was an Empire Ears Odin owner for about 6 months to that point, and you can track all of these on my past episodes. We've come a long way during the 83 shows that is the Director's Garage. Now, my sound check of the Sultan went pretty much like that Timeless episode. I was over the top because I heard something I hadn't heard before in an IEM. So much so, several viewers complained that I was having a strong reaction because it was a headphone that was sent to me for free. Well, that made me establish a policy that if a headphone that was donated or lent to me wins a shootout, I have to buy it. This removes any bias for the headphone. In fact, it creates a disincentive for me to like the product. Now, when the Sultan won its shootout, and to this day they still are my favorite IEM, cost no object, I contacted Noble to see if I could get anyone to come on the show and talk about the Sultan, because I was curious where it came from. Noble wrote back and asked if I'd like to interview Dr. John Moulton. Well, I did what any fool with a young YouTube show would do. I Googled John Moulton. Who the hell was he? Well, of course I knew he was the founder of Noble Audio.
Well, whistle me Dixie.
a chance. So John and I made what was to become one of my very favorite episodes. It's linked up here. I was a goober asking uninformed questions, and John answered them all with kindness and patience. And we've stayed friends ever since. Every week or so, I open an app and there's a message from John. He always has something interesting to say, or he'll tease me with one of his new products that he's really excited about. Or sometimes he lets me show them off on the show, like the Fordite model. I showed you guys that. Or the Bejeweled Sultan. I was able to show that one to you first. But he's become a close friend. So I asked him to create a couple of headphones for me. I'd gladly buy them. I showed him the headphones that impressed me, but I told him that I wanted him to first create a set that impressed him, because it would mean something to me to have a pair from a master craftsman that he felt were particularly special. And what arrived were these, the K10L Prestige Edition. And you can't take your eyes off. Look at the cable. Look at this cable. It's a 9-wire braided weave. Just amazing. And the case is absolutely top grade too. One of the best in the business, along with Campfire Audio's cork case. That's another standout. But there are 10 balanced armatures inside this IEM. Now look, in the past month or so, I've done 2 other 10 balanced IEM episodes, the C Audio Neo and the Visioneer 7. And I'll be honest, they all sound really similar. So how do you stand out when you're doing a product using the same driver that delivers a similar experience? Well, Noble found it. You do this. There are IEMs, and then there are Nobles. Nobles sit in a different category, really, to my way of thinking. It's like the difference between a Mercedes and, say, a Rolls-Royce or a Bentley. Yes, the highest-end Mercedes is very nice. It's well put together. It can do what the uber high-end brands can do, and maybe even give you a few more features. But the uber luxury brands like the Bentley bring something entirely different to the party. They're handmade by artisans. They are as much about the journey and the experience as the destination. They look and feel unlike anything mass-produced on an assembly line. And that is Noble's wheelhouse. Custom builds, exceptional sound quality, and an experience you won't get anywhere else in the IEM world. Now, they can cost you. There's no doubt about that. They'll cost you kilobucks. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But you're constantly aware that you have something special in a Noble. A Rolex won't tell time any better than an Apple Watch. But the Rolex is an experience. It looks and feels intricately assembled. And that's how I feel about Noble. Now I'm going to start decoding the sound, and you're going to find that this review sounds a lot like all the other balanced armature IEMs. They have good speed, excellent imaging, average dynamics, not much slam. All of this sound familiar? It should. This is pretty much what I said about every BA headphone I've had on the show. There are, however, a few places that the K10L stands apart. And the first is SOUNDSTAGE. I think what John has done with the SOUNDSTAGE on the K10L makes them unique. These have a wide-ish soundstage for an IEM, producing a headphone that excels in both imaging and soundstage. And this is noteworthy because generally I found on headphones, particularly IEMs, they tend to favor one over the other. Rarely does a headphone do both soundstage and imaging well. Now, I'm a fan of Los Lobos. You know I'm a fanboy. And I like their tracks because they combine rock and deep bass with Latin rhythms in a way that few bands do. An album like Kiko, which I rave about on this channel, Angels with Dirty Faces. You have all these exciting hits and passages landing all over the soundstage, and the image is exciting. The other noteworthy difference is sensitivity, and I found that these use a fraction of the power of many other IEMs. You can drive these with pretty much anything, and they'll perform well. And if anything, you'd want to be careful not to overdrive them, because things will then kind of get a little too thick and globby to me. It sounds actually like you lose detail to my ears when you put too much power to them. Which leads us into sound structure, which is an important part, because when you're talking bass, mids, and treble, this is the chance for an IEM to stand apart, because balanced armatures can be tuned in ways that other modules can't. You can really hone in on a frequency range and make the headphone have a little punch in the mids or stand apart in their tuning. So a good tuning is another way to make your BAs, your 10 BA IEM, stand apart from the rest of the sets on the market. And the K10S Prestige has a classic V sound that we'll jump into as we look at its bass, mids, and treble, and yes, in that order.
Okay.
Sheesh. It never gets old. And we're starting with the bass, which is plentiful, but not the deepest. I don't hear that uber sub-bass representation that dynamic drivers offer, and the bass lacks the authority and the slam of IEMs like the Sultan and the Odin. Now granted, those IEMs are more expensive. You pay handsomely for that slam, but I've come to enjoy hearing it. The K10L is a bassy headphone for sure, but without the impact of, say, the Canera Nana 2.0 or even the new Timeless. Now the mids are recessed on the K10S, and that's how I like them. It kind of sounds to me though like there are some dips though at various frequencies across the mid range. At a few points, it almost sounds like there's an omission there from the spectrum, and it can come across as a little bit thin on certain tracks. Vocals are very well represented. I don't perceive any spikes in the mids that grate or go nasally. The vocals sound very rich and robust. So I wonder if what I'm hearing with these dips at certain points are the crossover points between BAs. Now, when you shove 10 balanced armatures, 10 sound-making devices into one of these shells, you separate them. You have each BA take a little chunk of the frequency range, and then you tell which frequency range goes to which BA by using an electronic circuit called a crossover. Well, I'm wondering if what I'm hearing are those crossover points, if they're a little bit loose on the way that they're handing off the frequencies to the next BA in the frequency range. Now, on most headphones, you would point to something that sounds clearly out of place, but that's not the case here, because how do you point out something that's absent? You know, get my meaning? Now, the treble is well sorted on the K10L Prestige. There is excellent detail. These don't go bright. They're not the fastest through the treble. But what the K10L gives you is excellent balance with the rest of the frequencies. Nothing's out of place, and it's a pleasing tone with a decent sparkle across the top. So it's time to talk music, and you know I love music. And because I have something extra planned for this episode, I'm going to throw the spotlight only on one artist, and that's Brandi Carlile. Now, she is a must-listen on the K10L. Her albums have such range. You really get to experience the best of what the K10 has to offer. Pop, rock, folk, blues, and it's all through a country music lens. She's a fascinating artist with a political bend. Check out her album, The Story. It's loaded with thunderous ballads with a more pop rock take and a tremendous vocal range, of course. The instrumentation on her songs go from simple acoustic guitars to full orchestration. One of my favorite Brandi albums is The Fire Watcher's Daughter. Check out The Stranger at My Door, such an interesting track. It's got vibes of everyone from Mumford to Johnny Cash to Dolly Parton and even the Fratellis. Amazing soundstage, gritty and haunting. It's one terrific listen on the K10L. The K10 and its offspring are a standard. They're benchmarks against which other headphones should be judged, given their longevity on the market and their status. And the K10L takes that legacy and drops it into a housing that is just unparalleled. These things are artwork for the ears. They are crafted. They look crafted. They feel crafted. And they come with a finish that's worthy of an Italian sports car. I mean, these things are gorgeous. John has also promised to build me an IEM out of one of those crazier, color-crazy materials that he's invented. And I really can't wait for that either. The Universal Fit K10S still comes up from time to time for limited runs on drop. On Pure Sound, I'm going to be honest, there are other IEMs that I think I prefer. I like the Sultan and I like the Nana, mostly because of the dynamic bass driver. They just do it for me. And now we have to contend with the 7 Hz Timeless, and everyone should invest in a pair of the Timeless. At just $200, I think there's no excuse not to buy one. And there's an affiliate link below. You should support the channel. Hey! Now, the Timeless, they're mass-produced, and there's no question that the sound is there, but they definitely lack the craftsmanship, the fit and the finish of the Noble. And when I took my trip this week to Phoenix, I took the K10L. My father had passed away, and I had to take this trip there to collect his documents. And having something that came from a friend, something handcrafted, it made that kind of nasty trip a little bit easier in a small way. These prestige models are just a sight to behold, and you're paying extra for that personal craftsmanship with real materials, not some epoxy resin with stuff dropped into it or machine cut CNC aluminum housings. These are real wood, and as we've learned, everything from hardened paint to rare minerals, honed and polished to perfection by hand. Not a mold, not a laser machine, but human hands creating something custom, bringing a polish to mind-altering patterns. If you're down for that, go drool at the creations over on the Noble Audio website. There's simply nothing like them, and no two pairs are alike. And in a world where everyone is copying everyone and everything's just mass-produced, foil, metal, plastic, resin, to have something that doesn't come out of a mold, that comes from a designer who makes each shell by hand, who selects the material for each run, with a finish that has depth, it's kind of like ZMF in a way. You get something special and unique, crafted just for you. These aren't for everyone, and that's what makes them a prestige edition. Now, believe it or not, we're not done yet. There's still one more thing for today, and that's this. This is a package from Noble Audio. Did you catch this one? This has been subtle. It's been in the whole episode. Now, I'm pretty sure I know what's in this, but we may be surprised by something entirely different. So there is a little bit of mystery to what's in this box, but I think I know what it is. So let's dig in. Go fish. It's probably something that I've been expecting for a while, but look at this right here. We got a pulley tab. It's a pulley tab alert. Wah! And that was so anticlimactic. I wanted to stab something and gut it. No chance. Here's a box, and ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Wah! Oh, it's a blank box. So let's flip it over. Oh, we got ourselves a Noble logo classic. So let's do a little cut. Now I get a chance to use the knife. Whoop. Really kind of need to sharpen these knives. This knife is getting a little bit dull. And here we go. Are you ready? Are you ready? Bummer. It's bubble wrap. But I think I do know what this is, and it won't be long now. We can just tear this open and... Okay, what we got here, folks, is a Noble Audio Focus Pro. Yes, it's the Noble Audio Focus Pro. And what this, folks, is a Bluetooth headphone. I've been excited about this product for a while, since it was announced. Now, this is a wireless audiophile IEM designed for music listening alone. Now, these go for $350. They're not the cheapest. but I'm hoping that it's justified. These aren't for placing calls or asking Siri questions. This is an audiophile Bluetooth set specifically for music lovers. We're talking the latest in Bluetooth standards. I think it's like 5.2 or something. 5.2, indeed. And it's also 2 balanced armatures and 1 dynamic driver. So it's one of the first wireless IEMs to feature a double D. They claim that the battery life on these is about 7.5 hours, and the case has a battery in them so you can charge them, which is kind of cool. I just want to take them out and I want to test these with like my iPhone and just see what they do. And well, we've got this little guy here. That's kind of cool. And then, oh, look at this. And, you know, this hangs with the best from Canera right here, or the best from, you know, these aren't forged by hand. This is definitely a mold, but look at the quality. I mean, just look at the seams. Look at the molds. Everything about this is high-end. It looks high-end. So I'm hoping that these have enough of a charge. Look at the case. Look at the case down here. I mean, this is brushed aluminum here. Case is charged, looks like, coming right out of it. And it takes a USB-C right there. And it hinges. The case has a hinge on it, I think. Yep, there it is. And then you can put your IEMs in here to charge, and they snap in with magnetic-like precision. Kind of cool, kind of cool. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited by these, and the fit and the finish is gorgeous. It's noble quality all the way, which I really like. Let's take a look at the rest of this, because there's probably some tips in here and some other stuff. What else do you get with the Focus? It's the Focus Pro. You get a nice, this is a jewelry bag, and what's this? Looks like a Noble Audio. Do you think you put weed in here? And wow. Oh, okay, so this is your tips. You've got your tips. And I mean, can you imagine this had on weed? It's why I don't smoke anything. There's enough going on up here without drugs. And then down, going further, they give you a USB to USB-C, so you can charge your lovely new case with the Nobles. So I'm going to do a little pairing here. I want to give these guys a listen, do a little director's garage sound impression, but I got to do some syncing first. So let's just see how easy they are to sync. Oh, there we go. So now we've got the blue lights on these dudes. So these are connected. They connected practically instantly. They just came right up and I tapped the thing and it, yeah, there we go. So I'm starting out with some Pink Floyd. This is Run Like Hell. Boy, you feel the impact. It's more of a commercial tuning. There's no soundstage whatsoever. There, like right here. You can feel, though, the bass. The bass is good. I'm going to check out Time while we're at it, because they just released a whole bunch of Pink Floyd stuff to Tidal in the higher quality. Okay, here comes Time with the clocks. Clarity's great. This is typical balanced armature stuff. Little on the bright side. But I was looking for a set that maybe I could enjoy with my iPhone when I'm out and about with just the iPhone. There's good imaging, and they are remarkably fast. They're BA fast, like you can tell. Like the bongos and things like that. They're hitting very precise. Not very far out from your head, but they're very precise and they're very crisp. They sound sharp. So this is a decent, fast IEM. Definitely on the lower scale. I mean, they're only $350, which is a lot of money, no doubt. But they are on the, you know, when we've been looking at IEMs that are $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $350 and $200, like the 7 Hertz Timeless, which you know, would kill these, but this is wireless. You're getting a wireless experience, and that's what the selling point is here. It's a high fidelity, gorgeous sound, in a wireless IEM. And I think that these come close. I want to hear something with some slam in it. Okay, I just went to Los Lobos because that's what I know I to go to. I went to Kiko and Dream in Blue, and there's exceptional slam out of these. So you're getting that dynamic driver slam, which is great in a headphone that's wireless. You know, you're free. You can do whatever you're doing. Let's go to Elvis Costello. I'm in the mood again. Oh, and this is beautiful. There's a beautiful piano. This is lovely. Oh, very nice, very nice. You can hear little things going on in the room. These are pretty. They've got good detail for a small set. These are pretty bare bones. These will stop. I can stop the track. I can make the volume louder. And that's pretty much it. Like, there's not, I don't think, and that's just out of the, I have to read the manual to be fair, but just an interesting thing, and I thought it would be fun to listen to them, and they certainly are a worthy, nice little Bluetooth set, and kudos on the build on these. I mean, they're really comfortable. One of the better ones I've tested. So, very nice, very good, clean audiophile set. If you're looking for something like that, I understand that many people would prefer something like the Apple Buds Pro, because you can do a lot more with the phone with that and contact Siri and that, and makes sense. But if you just want to listen to some music, not a bad option. So thanks for stopping by for this Noble edition of the Director's Garage. And I know that it looks like I'm just shilling Noble today, and I don't want it to come across that way. I'm a fan of Noble Audio for what they do and how they do it. I bought this with my own money. I paid full price retail from Noble Audio's website, and I did get a bit of a price break on these, but I did pay for them. So this is about my appreciation for what Noble does, and what fine people are behind Noble Audio, and what interesting people, and what it takes to build something by hand that's not just stamped out on a machine. It's really impressive stuff, and that's what geeks me out about Noble Audio. And I want to give a special thanks to John and James Moulton for getting all of this stuff here, especially the Focus Pro, because I really wanted to include that in this episode. I thought it'd be fun to open something brand new, you know, that not many people have seen. It is truly remarkable gear, and if you haven't subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? It's just a click away. It's free, and it promotes goodwill toward mankind. Now, coming up, my goodness, have we got episodes ready to roll out. I have a new blind What's in the Box coming from Audio 46. That's ready to go. Plus sound checks of the Seni 820 closeback. I've been logging solid times on these, and there are a lot of critics of this headphone, but I've been loving them. Go figure. Now, I also have the GH50 sound check. That's going to get very interesting thanks to one of our Director's Garage viewers, and that'll make sense. Next episode, I think. And a sound check of the 7Hz Timeless. Now, you know there are shootouts in that IEM's future. Plus, a brand new flagship that is most definitely Dream Team worthy. There is so much to get to. It's going to be a great next month.
I got ants in my pants.
Give this episode a thumbs up if you enjoyed my Noble Audio excursion. It's just an episode. We're taking some time to appreciate a good brand, and I hope you thought about some of the friends that you've made on your Summit Fi journey. I'm making new friends every day right here, you guys right there, and that's pretty special for my life. Now, you can also do the other thing if you just wish that I get laryngitis. Can't say I blame you either way, and I'll be